Steve Smith, 5-time Pro Bowler, NFL Network, joining us live. For the record, who do you like tonight? I like Philadelphia. I think they understand what they are. I think they're really good situationally with Jalen Hurts. They know what they are on third down. I think Kansas City's a developing offense that doesn't quite know what they are yet. I like Philly tonight. What say you? Who do you like?
I mean, I like Philly as well, but every time I pick against Patrick Mahomes, he always shows me how incorrect I am. So I'm not going to go against Patrick Mahomes. I think, my humble opinion would be for both teams, Brian Johnson, the new offensive coordinator, who was formerly the quarterback coach, and Matt Nagy, who was formerly the quarterback coach as well. These are two guys who, like anything else, they have the job. It's their job to lose. But I think they're still figuring out what it is like to be a offensive coordinators, whether you have a lot of great weapons like the Philadelphia Eagles, or you have some guys who are still figuring it out, like the Kansas City Chiefs. But both teams have looked a shell of what they looked like last year, obviously in the playoff runs and also in the Super Bowl. And I think people are discounting that new offensive coordinators affect a lot of things, and you don't always see the success immediately. And people are experiencing that with the Eagles and Chiefs when sometimes you say, hey, what's going on this week, or what happened offensively?
So Russell Wilson looks to be about 90% of Seattle, Russ, but he's moving, he's lateraling, he's making plays. I was saying earlier that, the internet doesn't allow you to take time to solve problems. You got to solve it tomorrow. And it's like, that's not the way it works. It's really hard to start a business or reboot your marriage, or it's hard. Are you surprised it took so long, or are you surprised that it's this good right now? What do you make of Denver, Russell, Peyton, and all of it?
I mean, Peyton is Sean Payton. When he got the job, we assumed that we will see immediate results with Russell Wilson just because of what Russell Wilson did in Seattle. But I think it shows you what Russell Wilson was able to do in Seattle and what has transpired with Russell Wilson is a telltale sign that, it's two individuals trying to figure out one quarterback who is a little bit different compared to what he was prior to the trade. And I think Sean will figure it out. And I think hopefully Russell will continue to keep playing pretty good football right now. And they have turned things around. I'm not sure if people think they've turned it around so much that, they'll mess around and beat some teams possibly or head to the playoffs. I'm not sure. I think that's a stretch as of right now.
So I with Jordan Love, I can see growth. With Mac Jones, Zach Wilson, Kenny Pickett, I can't. And Kenny Pickett's interesting because Tomlin keeps defending him. But Najee Harris is finally like, I'm over it. I don't think you can fool players. And whereas with Jordan Love, I think the guys are buying into him going, there's stuff there. There's moments there. Yeah. I don't think you can sell Mac, Zach, or Kenny to those locker rooms. I don't think guys buy. Am I wrong? Do you think Pittsburgh players still buy Kenny Pickett, who has regressed the last 7 games?
I'm not in that locker room. I haven't spoken to anyone in that locker room, at least deliberately, about, how and what do they feel about Kenny Pickett. I will tell you, I had the opportunity to go down to their training camp, and I would give a little bit of grace to Kenny Pickett because I do believe that offense scheme doesn't play to Kenny Pickett's strength. That's what I would say. When you look at this offense and you look at how they do things, I've never been a fan of this offense under Matt Canada, and I've expressed that, and I think we're starting to see it. It's hard to say that it's all on Kenny Pickett, but I do got to throw a little bit, whether if this is a cookie. I mean, I don't know if Matt Canada is the melted butter or margarine, or if he's the dab of salt, the cinnamon stick, but he is something in this recipe that's it's a little off.
Yeah. Yeah.
It tastes a little different.
Brandon Staley. My takeaway is if you get a coaching job, it's not wins and losses necessarily I'm going to judge you on early. But if you're an offensive coach, McVay solved the Rams offense about 5 games into his tenure. Brian Flores may have been fired in Miami, but he figured out the defense really quickly, about 7 weeks. I watched the Chargers. This is a defensive coach. They're last in everything. 10-plus yards, 20-plus catches, blowing leads. Steve, at some point, you got to master your side of the ball, don't you?
Yes. I mean, it's I even think Matt Eberflusen is right there. You could throw him in that category too. Like,
yeah.
You can't be known for being an offensive guy and your offense isn't very good, or a defensive guy and your defense isn't very good, or, heck, you can't be a special teams coach and be dead last in special teams.
Right.
So you got to have some kind of identity when you are hired as a specialist of something. When I look at the Los Angeles Chargers, I always write on my notes which Chargers team is going to show up. And I think a lot of that has to do with the head coach, just how he does things. And there's a lot of question marks. His analytics, the risk that he takes defensively, offensively, it just doesn't seem to make sense a lot of the times. And so I believe that when the opportunity comes, when they have to evaluate, should they, keep Brandon Staley or not, I think they're probably going to lean on letting them go. Or as they say, it's not you, it's me.
Yeah. Finally, Caleb Williams did not have a very good second half of the season. We know he's talented, but he can be an emotional player. I didn't think he was very engaged this weekend against UCLA. Do you think less of him? Is he still your number one pick if you were a GM? I mean, he's clearly talented. That's not even an argument. I think he's the number one pick. But there's a lot of people out there saying he's very emotional. He's erratic. His mechanics have regressed. You've watched him. What do you make of him today compared to maybe a year ago?
Well, before I answer, I would say this. I heard a lot of people have comments on Caleb Williams, after the loss, and him getting emotional with his parents. I think sometimes people don't even necessarily can read the room. Think about it. Caleb Williams loses that game. He gets emotional. And the question is never asked why. Well, why is because he realizes that his collegiate career is over. He doesn't have an opportunity to play for a Pac-12 championship and eventually possibly play for getting into the college playoffs. And all of a sudden, people are expecting him not to be a young teenager, a young man who's knows pretty much after this college season, he's an adult. He has responsibilities. He's expected to work on holidays, right? 401k, 1099, W-2, W-9, like he's going into real life. And for him to get emotional or he's erratic, my answer to that is, so you're telling me he's a college student? Huh. He's a young man. That's what I hear. Like I got 4 kids. I got a 26-year-old who's doing his master's program, who's figuring out what life is really like, right? Working and managing his time for his master's. I got a daughter who just graduated from a cosmetology school doing her own business. And then I have an 18-year-old son who's in college. He's a freshman. And he's figuring out how to wash his own clothes at a laundromat with a coin machine, right, in college. That's not to say that he's irresponsible. That's just to say that life is throwing him things that he's not expecting. And and unlike everyone else, you get to see how he responds, how he reacts, what he thinks, how he's feeling, where most people are not filmed at the height of emotion. They're generally, you see them after the fact or you hear about it, but you don't get to physically see it live as it comes in. And so to evaluate a young kid like that and anyone else by watching him, he didn't jump off the top rope and drop kick somebody. He was emotional. He doesn't like losing. Well, so you want a kid that is is okay with losing, who looks forward to losing. I mean, you gotta pick and choose. What are you looking for? Are you looking for passion, or are you looking for what makes you feel good? And that's called selective hearing and selective, outcome desire.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.